Fleet Street, Sunday. British visitors who have returned from San Sebastian and Barcelona, who arrived in London today, told a Manchester Guardian representative of some of their adventures during the early days of the Civil War. Men and women who had gone to San Sebastian with parties of the Workers' Travel Association talked about the lovely town as they came up by the train from New Haven, delighted to be back in England, but not sorry. It seemed that they had been in Spain during historic events. Mr. L. Stodel, of Myats Park, London, and his neighbour, Mr. L. F. Hurd, told how late on Friday night they realised that news of trouble had come through on the wireless, and heard later that a fascist general had been killed in Morocco. They were staying in the Hotel Correos, which, as they discovered, was the street of the workers' headquarters, and after a look at the crowds talking and shouting in the streets, they lay down on a balcony watching them for hours. The travelers said that the strike was the workers' counterstroke to the fascists and came prompt on the news of the general's death. Next day there were no servants in the hotel and little food. The workers were making barriers of roadblocks and firing at people on balconies because, they said, in previous risings the fascists had fired from balconies. But there was no sign of any fascist organization. Its members were in hiding. A big building some way down the street, said to be the fascists' headquarters, was on fire. The travelers were warned not to leave the hotel, and the manager was considered very brave because in between the firing he went out to buy food. The British consul, Mr. Scott, to whom they telephoned, advised them to keep in the hotel till more was known. On Monday he managed to get a convoy of motor coaches and 5 motor cars for them, and, amid the cheers of the workers, the first contingent set off for the frontier. Each coach carried the red flag, and on each wing sat a man with a rifle. All the visitors, including elegantly dressed women, were careful to raise their clenched fists in the communist salute at the people they passed, and so they crossed the frontier. Firing from churches by the same train. 63 people returning from Barcelona arrived in London, 47 of them competitors who were to have taken part in the international games at Barcelona, and the rest visitors. In Sunday morning in Barcelona they woke to the sound of heavy firing. Mr. G. Alvin, leader of the British contingent, said that most of the time it was perfectly safe to go through the workers' quarters, and he declared that there was absolutely no truth in the story that one man had had a gun forced into his hands. His party stayed at an hotel near where the fighting was taking place. The workers were firing from the roof, the fascists firing from the church next door, and people tearing up cobbles from the tram line to build a barricade across the top of the street 50 yards away. The fascists took refuge in the churches, shooting at people from the belfries. He believed it was for that and not for any anti-religious reason that all the churches in Barcelona except the cathedral were burned. He did not believe the stories about the heads of priests being carried through the streets.